Hey y'alls, I'm back quicker than I thought I would be. Like immediately after that last video, back. I don't know why I'm wearing these. I'm not reading anything. So, to accompany today's reading, I want to mention. I want to look what's between the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Pentacles. In this deck, the queens are shields, and they each stand guard at their realm. And so, the cleansing, I don't know why, because the cleansing wasn't foreboding enough. I guess I don't know. It's the cleansing. 4 of Wands. That's interesting. Didn't ask, but here she is. I guess we'll get some finals. There's another one. With the Archangel of Healing. The healing that we do inside, it changes the dynamic and the way that we interact with the world and the environment around us. And it's like this soothing energy that allows things that don't as easily coexist with more chaos. Better. Anything else? I don't think so. So 4 of Wands and the Archangel of Healing, 10 of Cups is being healed. It's like learning to be both lover and fighter. 10 of Cups at the bottom of the deck. Okay. Anyway, so the Queen of Swords stands at the border of the mental, and the Queen of Pentacles stands at the border of the physical. And so something is happening in that in-between space. Oh, that was my phone. That's so... Oh, is it because this is muted? But this should be muted too. Did that even register on here? That's weird. That's so weird. My phone just rang. Or it was ringing. They'll leave a message. I need to update my resume. I had it all laid out, and we've taken some in reverse today, apparently. Well, we may be taking some in reverse. No, we're not. 6 of Swords, 2 of Pentacles. I left a box. There's a random box on my resume. And in Microsoft Word, I thought I could see it because I didn't know it would be visible. And I never checked the PDF. One day I'm like, oh my gosh. But I got so many places to update it in. I've just been lazy. I need to go back and do it. After that last interview, I'm just like, I'll wait. Who this? The World and the Knight of Pentacles. But the Knight of Pentacles is looking back at the world. The Knight of Pentacles has superseded, has overcome the world, and is waiting for the world to catch up. With the healer, there's more reference to healing at the bottom of the deck. So I said that when we heal, we smooth those pathways. Well, now we're waiting on the world to catch up to what we've done. And it will. Y'all better leave a message. Please. Please leave a message. Who there? Who you? What's going on? Wait. I'm going to look at every single card between the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Pentacles. And I hope that it's not the entire deck, but if it is, I will read the entire deck. Just to see what's happening in that in-between space and to see what the cleaners are up to. There are a few cards of death or transformation or endings. And so we'll see if it'll get cleaned or not. I mean, you should probably already have a feeling of whether it'll get cleaned or not in your own life. Well, maybe not. Because sometimes we think we're ready for something, but our actions and thoughts and behaviors say otherwise. Like, my phone is on silent, and this didn't ring. So I don't know how I heard this ringing. But it wasn't even my ringtone. Maybe it's because I have the headphones plugged in that my iPad was ringing. But I don't know. Alright. Let me get in the zone. 9 of Cups. It's the wish granted in this deck. With the Hector at the bottom, the 5 of Swords. Something that we thought was worth fighting for was indeed worth fighting for. Even if we had to fight harder than we thought we would have to. Or something that you fought for that you believed was worth fighting for that didn't immediately pay out, you may see that it actually did. In some way. Something that you fought through, something that you could have like just as easily given up, or it would have made a lot more sense if you gave up. 6 of Swords and the 3 of Cups with the Force at the bottom of the deck. I don't know, it just feels like your kindness has not gone unnoticed and its impact is much stronger than you would ever believe. Kindness, dedication, effort, compassion. It wasn't all for naught. Keep her at the bottom of the deck. I just caught a glimpse of her. Okay, 3 more. Oh my gosh. The Magician with the Queen of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. So let's go. Seven of Cups. Well, there's the death cards. Girl, it really ain't. It really ain't. So this is one of those cards. It's already cleaned. I barely started and it's already cleaned. But maybe not. Because this is the corruptor that's getting cleaned. And the corruptor, the 7 of Cups in this deck, it's linked to the 7 deadly sins. All of the cups, so none of the cups are necessarily great. In some decks, it's like, oh, one of these cups or 2 of these cups are amazing, but 6 or 5 of them aren't that great. In this one, they're all, But maybe that's being cleaned. Or one of those 7 deadly sins is keeping what it is that you want to manifest from coming into reality. It's already getting cleaned. Whether that's pride, ego, envy, lust, gluttony, sloth, or wrath. Pride, envy. I said ego. Pride, envy, lust, gluttony, sloth, wrath. What's the last one? Avarice is greed. Greed! I didn't say greed. One of those is keeping something from whatever this is coming in. It's like it's already dead. But let's continue, I guess. Because next is the 4 of Wands with that Wheel of Fortune. And then the Destroyer. The Destroyer removes corruption. So if we can make it past ourselves and whatever our deadly sin of choice is. I'm sorry, hold on. Oh, girl, you ain't. I wish that person would have left a message. Maybe they'll just call back. I don't think I got any calls scheduled today. I shouldn't. Okay. This removes the corruption. So now, whereas it's like that, whatever your deadly sin of choice is, would have. I don't like that I'm not centered. There we go. Now you can see the corner of this. It's fine. It would have cleaned out whatever this 4 of Wands is. But now it's like because of an experience. And we did see this card with the Archangel of Healing. So maybe some healing has taken place. And that's sort of shifting the things that are cleaned in that in-between space. Now, the Four of Wands, it's not a minor achievement, but it's not a world card achievement either. So there was something, a place that we reached within ourselves. Maybe this is an understanding of how the internal affects the external. In this Wheel of Fortune, it's like for a minute, everything was flowing in reverse. Because we're starting with the Queen of Pentacles instead of starting with the Queen of Swords. Because typically it's mental first and then matter. Here it's matter and then mental. But the corruptor kept us from seeing the matter in the truth of what it is. And then maybe that's why the corruptor is here. Because we have this earth first, experience first perspective. And so it got us to misconstrue some things, which is why they would be cleaned almost immediately. Because it doesn't fit, or it didn't fit with the narrative, with the story that the Seven of Cups corruptor got us to tell. And here, with the Four of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune, it feels like something began to flip, where instead of it going from matter to mental, now it's properly flowing from mental to matter. It's like it was flowing backwards, but now it's flowing in the proper direction again, thanks to whatever this tower was that serves to limit the influence of, or remove the influence of, the corruptor. And next is the Champion and the Seeker. So we found victory in that. No longer a victim, or less of a victim to our situations and circumstances. And it's bringing us into the Seeker energy, which is Aquarian, is it not? No, that's air. But it's Uranus influenced. There's a glyph of Uranus on his hand as well. It's interesting that like the glyph for Uranus looks like a combination of the Sun and Mars. Mars is in Taurus with Uranus, and it's not going to be, like by the time Taurus season comes, Mars is not going to still be in Uranus. But depending on where Uranus will be, it could be fairly close to this space where it's conjuncting now. And then some of that energy could be like sitting in a pocket. And then when the sun comes, it may pull it out a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, now we're seeking more. I think now we're starting to seek the things that this discolored. Or at least we want to live enough life to see if maybe we did have an incorrect perception of it in the past because of what everything else had led us to believe. Right? The Seven of Cups is like, pick your poison. Do you want it wrath or pride or greed or sloth or envy? Now, sloth was my thing for a minute. Gluttony, I used to be gluttony when I was really young. It was wrath. And then when I lost wrath, I gained sloth. And also gluttony. And then recently-ish, maybe because I couldn't afford to eat like I wanted to, gluttony left. And because of the end of last year, sloth is on its way out / gone. Because I gave myself a month and a half to do like everything. And then more stuff happened on top of the everything that I had to do. So I got good at not procrastinating. But anyway, whichever one you chose. And I feel like the Seeker is like, from this championed space after this tower, because I now see the corruption for what it is. It's like almost a little bit of a curiosity. I just want to see if it's still that bad. Now with the giver into the emperor, which I adore. This is us no longer holding these physical circumstances and situations as much, not giving to them, not feeding them as much anymore, choosing to feed into the things that we want. And that's how we come into our power with this emperor energy. That's how we sort of become blessed by feminine energy. Because this Ankh, it's a gift from the Empress. It can't be taken. It can only be given. And there's also the Emperor card in the Tarot Apocalypsis, or the Empress card. Or who is she? Hathor, Queen of Wands, I think. There are a few cards in the Tarot Apocalypsis that's like, I give the Emperor power. Like, I make my husband the king. I am the queen. It's not one of those like, I became the queen because he was already the king and I'm married into royalty. Like, no, he married into royalty. And this is the gift of life. It's to get us to see, and in some ways, because we went through this process, appreciate the sort of agency that we do have in our own lives. And it's not as easy to appreciate when your negative mindset or limiting beliefs continue to have you experiencing lesser instead of more. But when that's seen, faced, addressed, and corrected, and then the world begins to give because you started to give to yourself, then it gets you to appreciate some of these things even more. Next is the Page of Cups. And the Page of Cups is a messenger. Oh, this is the Page of Pentacles. Stronghold of the Veil. So now that we've come into this space, we're beginning to receive some of the things that we used to block. With it being the stronghold, though, I don't think she can fit many things in that little envelope. So I don't think it's necessarily anything huge or drastic, but it doesn't have to be to get you to notice it. It could be something as simple as like, I didn't know how I was going to pay for this or pay for that, or I needed this and it was provided for me. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, here's your abundance, here's your mansion. Even though, again, I needed it and it was provided for me, that's within your frequency of abundance. It just isn't to the macro scale necessarily yet. And coming after that is the Keeper, followed by New World Order. And then the Queen of Cups, where I thought that was the Page of Cups. So we go from the Seeker now to the Keeper. And I like that the World came after the Keeper, because with this Page of Pentacles, we receive a fraction of our complete abundance. And that's where this knowing really comes into place. This is where that appreciation turns into, the appreciation deepens, and we begin to, it's like this magician energy, but it's not, it's like a magician high priestess energy. Like, I don't think it's as active as magician energy. Because it's like it allows more, it controls less. It's like like a chess game where you position the things that you can position. It's not chess, but it's like chess. Or checkers. I'm more familiar with checkers. I think some people are surprised that I don't know how to play chess sometimes. I'm like, I never. My dad has a chess set. I think one time maybe I was kind of into him teaching me how to play chess, but it never happened. But it's like you position, and I have the video about positionality. You position the things that you can position. The divine positions the things that they position. And then it all starts to flow in. At this point, the Page of Pentacles, it's allowing a trickle into this space. So some of those things are now beginning to escape the cleaners. With this coming into this, and it's funny because at first I wasn't really feeling any emotional sort of blockages. But maybe there were, but we didn't really see them as such. Maybe it's not emotional, maybe it's more spiritual. We start to gain a deeper understanding. There we go. Understanding is the word I wanted. Of this balance and how things work. So it's appreciation mixed with understanding. That's like a passive, more passive, dilute magician energy. And then we come into the Four of Swords, where what used to drive us, it no longer does. Now we're in a space to be able to put some like analyzers in that space with the cleaners, or the cleaners evolve to the point now where they look at things before they just toss them out. This is where intuition and discernment really become a factor, because we are listening more. And so we're able to find rest and peace regardless of the situations and the circumstances and the happenings around us. And we don't as easily allow our environment to completely overrule and override the mental and the emotional and the spiritual within us. Now, I don't know if this is yet mastered it, right? So maybe we were in a space like that, but suffering like constant, what feels like constant and continuous setbacks and misery can still get to us. And that's human, right? Next is the Two of Cups, the joined one, followed by the conservator and the politic. I think I feel like these two emphasize what I was already saying here. This is us coming more into union with our intuitive spiritual side, becoming a wholer, human, not purely material, but also not yet purely spiritual. I don't necessarily think it's to be purely spiritual because we're living on Earth. And what that does is it gives us a Four of Pentacles energy now, because we've mentally stabilized that side, because the cleaners now analyze before they just throw something away because of the intuition and the discernment that came here. Now, where we're more protected on the mental, or we're better able to keep a calm mental regardless of the storm around us, it stabilizes our reality. It fluctuates less because now It's not like we're manifesting something but then actively working against our manifestations, or we're manifesting something and then like talking against what it is that we're manifesting. Next is the joyous one. Oops. Followed by the dynasty. Ten of Cups followed by the Ten of Pentacles. The politic, to me, it's speaking of kind of sort of needing to find a community of people who can share the same vision. But the politic is different than the kindred, because in the kindred Three of Cups, it's like everyone has their own vision, but they're in the same space. This is needing to find people who see it as you do, because it's about keeping the flame alive. I think at the Three of Cups, you don't necessarily need other people to keep your fire alive. And that's why they all have their own bowls. So the joyous one into the dynasty, it's like it's creating a legacy of love and of happiness and of peace and abundance. Partially because you exist within those frequencies more, longer, more consistently. And like actually consistently, right? This okay, McDonald's. I don't even know. I don't even remember why I downloaded the McDonald's app. But now it makes that noise sometimes, and I'm always surprised. Did y'all hear that? Do. I kind of like it because it's a unique noise that my phone makes. I've never used it, I don't think. Maybe I should. Nah. There's something here with this Four of Swords here. I think sometimes like there are things that we ignore, things that we push aside to like try to force ourselves to be happy or to try to whatever. I don't think it's about that. Because here it's not that we're not going through anything. It's just that like we don't allow for the things that we go through to take us all the way out. Like we still need to experience life. That's why I said I don't think it's necessarily about being completely spiritual, because we're on earth, made from earth, and what drives our vessels is, spiritual or beyond earth. But the ones in which we live, it's of earth. So it makes sense that there's a little bit of a balance. And sometimes it's like we can spiritualize our way out of certain situations, but it doesn't actually benefit us as much. And I think that's why sometimes even the most spiritual even the most spiritual of people can seemingly go through the same dark night multiple times. And like you can be triggered by something more than once. You can be healed from something, or you can heal something and still be triggered. My thing though is like it's if we are correctly navigating dark nights of the soul, then it shouldn't be darker or as dark when we hit that same space. Like it should be getting lighter in theory because we're working through, resolving, removing power from the shadow. It's like most of the times what we do is like we hit a dark night, we spiritualize it, and then we make the shadow even bigger because we're not actually facing or addressing whatever is rising to be faced and addressed and set free. And what that does is it strengthens the cleaners against like it's like it flags it for more immediate removal, because there are some things that we want that we have to be ready to receive. Some things we want come with a price that we have to pay, and sometimes the price is growth, it's healing, it's resolving traumas from the past instead of continuing to live with them. So every time you try to go beyond, if you're hit with a trauma or with a trigger, maybe it's because that's something that's blocking what it is behind it that you're trying to manifest. And globally, a lot of people are manifesting a lot of love and light, global stuff. And so if we see some global shadows coming to the light and to the surface, they're coming to be addressed because they stand between us and the world in which we want to live. And so not handling and addressing those things doesn't get us any closer to where it is that we claim to want to be. But with the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Pentacles, it's like handling, facing, addressing, healing, resolving, freeing ourselves, expanding that space, and redirecting, reordering the cleaners to like that which is corrupt or of the corruptor, clean that. Don't allow the corruptor, like you don't take orders from the corruptor anymore. Now we cleanse, we clean the influence of the corruptor. And cleaning that influence, again, it gives us this mental, and then which leads to physical because of this fluid connection between them. Stability, more solid groundedness, which becomes the precursor to this energy. Again, because we're constantly facing, constantly addressing, constantly resolving whatever needs to be resolved. And so although we may not necessarily be happy all the time, as long as we're in that frequency of I'm not going to allow this to take me out. If I got to take a day or 2 days or a few days to feel my feelings and then process my feelings, that's what I'm going to do. But I'm not going to allow these feelings to get me to regress or go back to a space that I've already come out of. And the next card is the Grotesque with that Archangel of Healing again. No, here's the Demiurge. Oh, I didn't even notice that. The Three of Wands came out on top of the Four of Wands. So we're getting closer to the Ace there. And the Archangel of Healing came out with that Demiurge Four of Wands before. With the Five of Cups and the Archangel of Healing, the Grotesque, and the King of Cups, it's like now that we're focused, now that we've gotten better at responding to the environment, are steeling ourselves against the environment, now comes the even deeper stuff. And these are the things that were poured into us when we were younger, more impressionable. Probably a child, but you can be impressionable and not be a child. Like a lot of times we enter, not a lot of times, sometimes we enter a brand new space and we view someone else as more knowledgeable than us. And so we take their word as gold, and whatever they say, we kind of sort of incorporate it as truth. That could be spiritually. Maybe you were a little baby spiritualist and somebody told you something, because we're all human. Maybe it was rooted in one of their traumas or something that they were working through, or something that their world was showing to them to try to get them to face and resolve, but they took that as a truth and they imparted that truth upon you, and now you hold that truth that is not necessarily yours to hold. The Archangel of Healing is now going to come in and get us to shift away from the 3 cups spilled, the blood, sweat, and tears, and focus on the 2 cups upright, the things that are within us, that are of us and for us, and that will carry us forward. 2 cups upright here, the 2 of cups up here. So before, like between this 2 of cups up here and this one, there's still all of this that has to happen. I think this is more energetically. These two could be related to this vision that we're trying to hold and maintain. But now those things are being healed. And I feel like there's also some self stuff. We weren't seeing ourselves in the proper light, maybe because no one else was. And that's also being healed. And then we have justice. And after justice is the Queen of Swords, with the Page of Swords right here. So now we've reached the gate of the mind. Now that there's justice. It's funny because it's like we start with the corruptor coming out of the gate of the matter, of the physical. And then through all of this, we end with justice before the mind. And I think justice is that more accurate, is that more fair depiction of ourselves in the reality and world around us. And it puts us in a position to more masterfully manifest things. Because I'm feeling like justice is the integration of that feminine element that I mentioned in day 2, Ace of Pentacles. I forget what it was titled. It's Ace of Pentacles -2 in Roman numerals. Because now it allows for others. It's like with justice, we hold one end of the scale and we release it to spirit to fill the other end. And after this energy of like separating what is us from what is not us, and healing those things within us and learning to appreciate ourselves, both light and dark, appreciating ourselves completely and fully, and maybe even unapologetically, it brings a lot more fairness to our experience. And it's almost like, and I've talked about it several times now, but when there are shadows that we refuse to see, then it's like that's energy that can ride on top of whatever it is that you're trying to manifest into your reality. And you could just be the gateway or the portal for this thing to come into reality, and then it goes and it spreads to other people. And that can come in a moment of you being like uncharacteristically you, and now you've gone and ruined someone else's day, and now they're going to go and ruin other people's day, and then it causes this chain reaction. And then later you're like, oh, like maybe I overreacted, like maybe I shouldn't have done that. And again, we're human, we're going to be upset. It's not that we have to be perfect. It's less of that, because there are less things that we're just sort of, there's less baggage that we're just walking around with, not addressing and not handling. And so in your own reality and your own experience, again, because we learned back here, somewhere in here, to begin handling and facing and addressing these things, they don't show up as these like echo shadow things that happen and we don't know why. Only queen that didn't show up is the Queen of Wands, but the soul is always the soul, so there was no need for her to within the context of this reading. We got the Queen of Cups here and then the King of Cups here. The Ivory Shield and then the Archangel of Healing. And I love that it's been like this progressive buildup. And again, like the Corruptor and the Reaper came out like immediately. So for a lot of us, that's sort of the end. That's where the cleaners come in. I don't know how many cards of, well, the Four of Swords is right here, so that's a card of rest and of stopping, potentially. But yeah, that leads us into justice. And again, justice is like, if you could have a more pervasive gaze, a more all-seeing energy. And it's not all-seeing. It just doesn't quiver or hide or recoil or turn its face from that which it doesn't wish to see. Mentally, that's like a complete reprogramming of that energy, of the cleaners. And so again, it's like it reverses the flow of that cleansing. So that's what I got. And the magician is off to the side. So it does mostly seem like things that we're manifesting, but it's also about using all of the elements within us. I think fire, it's not an element that we can necessarily control, but like the other queens are here. Air, earth, and water. And the Queen of Cups is after the world and the Keeper. That's when she comes into the picture. And because she's there, now there's communication between the air realm and the earth realm with that Two of Cups, and it stabilizes things. Then we have to stabilize our vision to the greater vision, right? There's their wands as compared to the fire, as compared to the sun behind them. So we're trying to align this fire in front of us to the sun behind us that we can't even see, that we're not even facing. That energy that maintains all of this abundance. But we don't get all of that as long as we remain separated from ourselves and incomplete within ourselves and self-loathing in whatever ways. We heal that. We face those things. We bring justice to ourselves, and then the world around us becomes more and more just. It aligns more and more to everything else. So that's what I got. And then the Page of Swords at the bottom, that is a gift from the Queen of Swords, that trickling energy. And an envelope from the mental is capable of carrying a lot more from an envelope of the physical, because ideas are abstract. So it could be anything. I love that the Reaper is still there. Alright. The Reaper is going to be the cleaner. I want like 2 to 3 cards, please, for this cleaner. And it's almost like a spiritual, mental, physical, a tri-realm immune system type thing. Okay, I'll take those. And sometimes, ooh, the Force. With an autoimmune disorder, that's when the immune system works against us instead of it working for us. And sometimes we kind of have that in that tri-realm area between the mental, the physical, and the spiritual or emotional. King of Swords, King of Swords, Archangel Commander, with the Force at the bottom. But it came out with the joined one, 2 of Cups, the Corruptor, 7 of Cups, the Conservator, 4 of Pentacles, and the Outlaw. And I think that's literally what I just said. I think this is more an energy of it working against us. This is an energy of it working for us, but it works for us when we're standing at the helm of our power. And if we're not, then it's working against us. And we can do things to limit triggers in our world and in our reality, but limiting doesn't necessarily take the power away from. And as long as that thing has power over us, all it has to do is show up, and everything that you worked so hard for, 10 of Cups, 10 of Pentacles, can fall apart. It can get you to question, it can get you to doubt, it can get you to fear, and then you leave it. You work that hard, get it, and then one little thing comes in and you lose it. Ace of Wands, Sacred Fire, and the Rogue, Seven of Swords, or the Sun card. The Sun in this deck is the warrior. So again, this is something that you have to hold. Because if you don't take charge, then the Rogue is going to come in and take it. Bottom of the deck is the Bereaved, Three of Swords. And it's something that we have to learn to manage and get over. And I don't want to say it so like just get over it. But that's why like we learn and we heal. But as long as we're afraid to go there, it shows up in everything you work so hard for, you just give away. And the cleaners is like, hey, we do what you tell us to do. And just because you listen to somebody else and they tell you what to do with this, it doesn't alleviate you of that responsibility, because ultimately we listen to your word. And if you use someone else's, that's your choice. Alright, final message, please. Final message, please. I'll give it 3 more. 2 more. Last one. Cut. Judgment. Apocalypse. Bottom of the deck. Knight of Swords. The Tree of Life is here. This is... I think this card and the Ten of Pentacles, the Dynasty, are the only 2 cards that depict a complete Tree of Life in this deck. Talked about the Tree of Life yesterday. And it's like the only way for us to understand or to comprehend the Tree of Life is to have eaten from the fruit of the knowledge of, have eaten from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because without that, we wouldn't have a context to put any of this to. But it's not to be lost in the context. It's just it gives you a frame of reference or understanding. But with that Judgment card, it feels like a mirrored or an echoed Judgment energy. And it's like you have no power, no rule, no say, no voice in things collectively that you can't address within yourself. Because that's where your power stems from. It stems from you being in alignment with whatever. Your alignment is your power. And so a lot of times we use our voice in ways heard and not. But there's no weight behind it. There's no power behind it. The light is choked within it. Because, again, it's those things within ourselves. And Judgment is a heavy card. Which to me reads as it requires us to like really get in there. And really look at things that make us very uncomfortable. It's Plutonian. It's the element of fire. Pluto's been in Capricorn for a minute, setting the stage, preparing the foundation for the world in which everyone is manifesting. Age of Aquarius, 5D, elevated consciousness, all this. Well, that's why everything was happening in Capricorn, because we can't get there with the foundation that we had. So the foundation had to be worked on. We've seen a lot of things in the foundation. Some people don't want to address any of those things, or they want to bypass or look past. And honestly, what I've focused on the most, or what I've noticed the most, isn't necessarily like, is this true or is that true? It's more so of what we're willing or not willing to do for ourselves or for others. And there is a certain selflessness. I think that comes along with the age of Aquarius energy that a lot of people are manifesting. And it's a selflessness that quite a few people haven't necessarily demonstrated, I feel. And I'm no one's judge or whatever, but I call it how I see it. And I don't know, I think it'll serve us to be a little more selfless, to be a little less selfish, to think beyond the moment, and to be in an energy of doing what we need to do to get where we want to be. Because while mentally and spiritually things can sort of flip on a dime, physically that's not necessarily the case. And a lot of people have spiritual eyes bigger than their physical stomachs. And that's where the cleaners come in. Like, this is something that you're manifesting, but it's something that you're not proving to be capable of receiving. And so your manifestations, they get clean, they get wiped out. They don't make the journey from mental/spiritual to physical. Because we don't care for it. Right? When you have a baby, sometimes there are things that you want to do that you can't do. Sometimes there are things that you don't want to do that you have to do for the sake of the baby. And while we've become really good at manifesting and imagining and creating, we're not as good with putting the work to see those things made real. Too stuck, too rigid, too fixed. So let's put Pluto in Earth energy, because Earth is stable AF. So Pluto may be the only one that can go into Capricorn and try to get Saturn to see things a different way. And Saturn's already seen it different. Saturn's now moved on to Aquarius. Right? I think we're going to be experiencing the Aquarian side of Saturnian energy more, which is the energy that builds and expands and that modernizes things to the current time. Whereas Capricorn is so minutely focused on the little details that in the past, maybe Saturn would come and pick apart your foundation because it was always like wonky. And it's like, I'm in Aquarius now. If you ain't got the foundation, you don't have the foundation. You have plenty of time. And you could have seen the truth behind everything. Or you could have seen the truth that was important for you to see. And it's not about it's not necessarily about the story that everyone else is trying to tell you. Even though that's the one that I feel like a lot of us focused on the most. It's about seeing beneath and beyond all of that. And actually looking at things. Because when you observe it, and that's quantum. Like, we know that. We don't know the true nature of anything in the universe because scientifically, quantumly, when you observe it, it changes. It's like what Schrodinger's cat. You don't know if it's dead or alive until you open the box. But once you open the box, you know. Once you observe, the outcome is set. It's only outside of our realm of observance that it can be anything. And that's why, I think a lot of people live Schrodinger's cat lives. They manifest something and then they open a box, oh, it's dead. They open a box, it's alive. Open a box, it's dead. It's dead, it's alive. And then the ratio of dead to alive fluxes and changes as the flip of a coin. But when you observe it, you set the outcome. You can't set anything that you're not willing to see. Anyway, I've repeated myself over and over by this point. I'm sure y'all get it. Maybe not, but when you do, you do. And yeah, I'm gonna go now. This was it was interesting today. It was interesting. I enjoyed these. So I'll catch y'all later. I hope you have a good whenever y'all see this. I'm expecting a deck to arrive today. So I may be back on. I may not be. Probably won't be. Not for now. Okay. All right. Bye.